SEC Media Days is in the books. We voted on running back, but no Auburn running back even made the list to vote for. Is this disrespect? Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. I'm your host, Mike G, and thank you so much for turning us up and turning us on a Monday morning. Joining me as he does every single Monday is my good friend Caesar Walker, co-host at the War Report. Caesar, this was a long week in Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame. We had a great many interviews. We listened to every single coach, but most of all, we covered Auburn. Auburn went on Tuesday. Hugh Freeze showed up in Atlanta with one Connor Lew, Keldrick Falk, and his starting quarterback, Jackson Arnold. As we do every single year, we vote on all at preseason all SEC selections. I certainly voted Cam Coleman first team all SEC. A lot of our peers in the media felt the same, so he made the first team list along with Alabama true sophomore wideout Ryan Williams, the youngest 17-year-old to ever make a preseason all SEC. We also had a few more selections on the third team on offense, but notably missing from the list were Auburn running backs. Jeremiah Cobb and Damari Alston presumably will lead the running back room. They weren't even on the list for us to pick, which was strange to me because we got a lot of names we don't know from other teams. And certainly Auburn starting running back and not being a selection is notable to me. Should these guys take this as disrespect for what the running game could be at Auburn this year? Jarquez Hunter averaged 6.4 yards per carry last season under Hugh Freeze with the play calling. A lot of people felt like, hey, you didn't give Jarquez the ball enough last year. Is this a reflection of the talent in the room, or is it a reflection of how the coach uses the running backs?
I don't think it's a reflection of the talent. Clearly, those guys are very talented. I think the two things, Mike, that is working against the current running backs, Damari Alston, Jeremiah Cobb, is that these guys just have not had a lot of opportunities running the football when Jarquez Hunter is your main running back. And he was Auburn's workhorse last year. And we argued, Mike, that Hugh Freeze didn't run the ball enough at times. And so when he did run the ball, it was Jarquez running the football for Auburn. And you had a mobile QB in Peyton Thorne who could pull the ball at any given time and run the ball as well. So there was two people ahead of Jarquez Hunter, ahead of Jeremiah Cobb, who had the opportunity to carry the ball in any given moment in Auburn's offense. Those two guys are gone. They've moved on. And now you have Damari Alston, it's his time to shine in this offense. And I think with guys like Cam Coleman, who came in heralded, he was a major recruit, big time recruit. People knew his talent and what he's capable of. He has the measurables. He has the size. He has the catch radius. And he flashed a lot of brilliance, a lot of amazing, his athleticism at times last year, when Auburn began to utilize him in a much better fashion towards the end of the season. And I think with guys like Damari Alston, for the most part, they're unheard of. You also got to factor in, Mike, this is an Auburn team that's been struggling offensively, especially when it comes to turnovers. And this is a team that's coming off of a 5-7 campaign, a losing season over the past 3-4 years. So people these guys are going to fly under the radar for most people, even though at Auburn, fans are going to know who these guys are because they've seen flashes of brilliance from these guys at times. They know that Jeremiah Cobb is a speedster who can just go the distance at any given moment. Damari Alston, who's one of the best, a really good all-around SEC back, all-purpose back for Auburn. We know what these guys are capable of. I think they use this, Mike, as an opportunity to motivate them to go out and show the world that they are amongst the best, if not the best, running back tandem in the SEC.
Hugh Freeze said when he came into the job, Caesar, he said, look, Damari Alston is a better running back than we gave him credit for coming in the door. A lot of the talk was about Jarquez Hunter, who he called the best back he ever coached before he even coached him a game. So that's high praise coming from a guy who has coached at this level for a period of time, to say, look, I ain't coached this guy. I don't think he had coached him a practice when Jarquez was the best running back that he had ever coached. But he also came through and said, look, Damari Alston is a player. He's a baller. Now, we talked about ball security being one of the things that he definitely needs to work on going into this season. But for our listeners on pod, I just want to make sure I set the stage on what kind of production him and Jeremiah Cobb, who will factor in greatly this season, bring in. For Damari Alston career, you got 130 rush attempts for 681 yards, 5 rushing TDs. That's an average yards per carry at 5.24 yards. He's got 15 receptions for 114 yards through the air. No receiving touchdowns. On Jeremiah Cobb's side, you've got 62 rush attempts for 314 yards. And you've got 2 rushing touchdowns, 5.06 yards per carry, 13 receptions for 92 yards through the air, and 2 receiving touchdowns. He's a very good pass catching back. So he will factor in probably on wheel routes and, some things where they get the running back out of the backfield and into the second level to catch some intermediate passes. But combined, these guys have just under 1,000 yards combined on the ground for their careers, which is, not a lot of experience coming into the job here in 2025. I think that they should use this as, I should they 100% take this as disrespect, right? Sure. Damari Alston, we have a pretty good relationship with Damari, and he's very optimistic about the season. He sent me a saw segment we did, sent me a text message, said, look, man, we're going to tear it up this year. We've got a good plan. They've got a lot of faith in the O-line, in run blocking, and they feel like they have a chance to do something special. Now, during media days, we talked a lot about that beefed up Auburn offensive line and what they could potentially do there. I think that you can't sleep on the running backs because you can't sleep on this offensive line, Caesar.
Yeah, I agree. They're returning a lot of experience. They went into the portal and filled some needs. This offensive line is much more improved than what it was when Hugh Freeze got there, and I expect them to be able to run the ball effectively. And I expect them to actually do a good job in pass pro as well, Mike. Again, a lot of experience returns. Should that O-line stay healthy, I expect those running backs to eat and get a lot of yards in this offense this upcoming season. I'm excited to see how things shake out with left tackle. Some of the other new guys along the line. It was good to see Dylan Wade come back for another year. Again, you have tons of experience. You have Connor Lew, who was voted third team All-SEC last week at Media Days. So, again, there's talent along that O-line. There's experience around that O-line. It feels good for Auburn fans to look at that O-line and they're not glaring questions. You don't have guys playing out of position, Mike. So, and there's guys who are have a lot of experience under this belt. They understand the offense. They understand where they need to be on any given play. There's no excuses for them to be able to create lanes and holes for these running backs to run through and really eat up yards on the ground.
Yeah, I agree. Excuses are going to have to be gone for this coach and for this team this year. Lots of expectations in 2025. On today's on the live show that we did Sunday, we talked about expectations on the season, and the expectations are sky high right now because the schedule represents an opportunity for Auburn to really make a splash this year if they can get off to a hot start. Speaking of hot starts, Caesar, Baylor is coming up. We are just over a month away from Auburn at Baylor. And the question a lot of people have is, how is this going to look from game one? How ready is Auburn going to be game one when they head out west to Baylor to take on the Bears and potentially get a signature win to start the season? We'll talk about how ready they should look and they will look right after a quick word from our sponsors.
This episode of the Auburn Express is brought to you by our friends at the Vibe Vault.
You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. That's right across the street from the Chattahoochee Valley Community College, next to Renfro's Supermarket and Marco's Pizza. The Vibe Vault. If you're in the Columbus, Phoenix City area and you're looking to get fresh for the weekend, get fresh for the weekend with the Vibe Vault. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. This episode of the Roar Report is brought to you by friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever else you know, like the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. Visit them for all your herbal medicinal needs. Also want to thank our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. Golden's Cast Iron. It's the summer. You want to be outside with your family, eating good off the grill, or just trying to stay in shape. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Let's jump back into the conversation here. As I mentioned, Baylor is coming quickly, and a lot of people, the level of freak out if Auburn does not look good from game one is going to be high. So when you're on the road, when you're in a tough environment, being able to run the ball is very, very important to controlling the pace of the game and controlling the clock. You know, what kind of balance do you think we'll see with these disrespected running backs and Jackson Arnold's legs game one versus Baylor?
I think the ratio and percentage is like 60-40 Hugh Freeze is going for, Mike. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was something like that. He wants to favor the run. 65. Yeah. So he wants to favor the run. He wants to run the ball. And I think a lot is going to have to be. I'm curious where Jackson Arnold is going to be game one, right? He's had a spring under his belt. He's gone through a full spring. He's gone through summer workouts. Fall camp is going to be coming. I'm curious to see how he's going to do in some of these upcoming scrimmages, Mike. Again, I don't want to hear anything about him pressing. I want him to be comfortable in this offense, taking command of this offense. And one of the things that Hugh Freeze talked about in media days is him getting his confidence back, right? After what happened last year at Oklahoma. Where he goes is going to ultimately determine how comfortable this coaching staff is with calling plays for him, getting into a flow of the game. And I think it's going to be important, Mike, that Auburn mitigates a lot of 3 and outs. It's going to be tough for a first game to see how this team's going to look. But one of the things that we've seen with Hugh Freeze offense is that if they don't get into a rhythm early, it's going to be a tough night or a tough day for them out on the field. And so how are they able to extend drives? So how are they on third down? Are they getting into third and short? And is the play calling conducive to making sure that they're getting the ball in the hands of their best player? I think there were times last year, Mike, where Auburn got too cute at times. They didn't put the ball in the hand of their best player, and they paid for it at times. And so I think Hugh Freeze understanding what he has at running back, Jackson Arnold, who's the trigger man, are they getting the ball in the hands of their best players in as much as they possibly can? And I think I expect there to be a 60, it's about 60-40. I'm curious how much of that is going to be Jackson Arnold running. I really am. I'm curious to see if they utilize the running backs more and try to keep Jackson Arnold in the pocket. It just depends on how this goes. I think Jackson Arnold may take over. His athleticism will take over at given points of the game. So I'm just curious to see how that works out in relation to Damari, Alston, and Jeremiah Cobb. Obviously, they're going to have plays designed for them. Jeremiah Cobb catching passes out of the end zone. Obviously, out of the backfield. You're going to have Damari Alston, short yardage between the tackles, getting those tough yards. He's good for that. I think it's going to be a 60-40 with the new quarterback you're breaking in. I think they're going to favor the run. at times, but I also expect Jackson Arnold to take the top off the defense at times because you got some threats at receiver who should be able to do that. So I'm curious to see the balance that Auburn comes in. And if they get close to that 50-50, that 60-40, they can keep the opposing defenses honest.
Yeah, something's going to have to give here. Baylor can be very explosive offensive. They're going to be one of the better teams in the Big 12 this season, I think. But when you're comparing these two teams here, Auburn's rush defense is going to be key in this one. I think that they should be able to limit Baylor on the ground and force them to try to make plays through the air, which forces them to another strength of Auburn, which, in my opinion, is the secondary. This secondary should have opportunities to make big time plays. They're going to get some shots to get some picks on Baylor and really be able to turn that game around. Auburn's got to create turnovers on the road, I think, if they want to get out with the win. So, again, you've got pretty efficient QB play at Baylor, mixed with big play opportunity and what should be a pretty explosive offense. And then you've got Auburn, who did not lack big plays last year. They just couldn't score to get the ball in the end zone. They were making big plays through the air. Cam Cobb, I said at the top of the segment, we voted him first team all SEC. Our peers in the media agreed. He's going to have to be a star for Auburn if they're going to win. I like how Alabama got the ball to Ryan Williams last year. I think they just let the man go out there and make plays, and it felt like Auburn struggled to get Cam involved until the end of the season. That can't happen. You know, he's first team all SEC, preseason all SEC. He's got to be involved from game one, from drive one, from the first minute of this football season. Cam Coleman needs to be at the center of what they're doing, which should turn around, and I said this on our Sunday segment, create play opportunities in the run game when everybody's backing up, worried about these wide receivers.
I think until Auburn makes teams respect their passing attack, teams are going to play for the run. They just are. Obviously, much has been made about Auburn's receiving core, but I think teams are going to dare Auburn to throw the ball because, again, the jury is still out on Auburn's quarterback. Can he get the ball to those guys? Can you prove that you can get the ball to them consistently at times? So make teams have to play you honest. Make the teams have to move guys out of the box because you're proving that you can burn them and torch them, their secondary, if they do that. So to me, I think Auburn has a lot to prove in the first half of this season as they go on the road in hostile environments. Teams are going to dare Auburn to throw. They're going to dare them. Okay, you have these impressive wide receivers. You have this talented QB in Jackson Arnold. Show us you know what to do with those guys. And I think it's important for Auburn to be able to show that things are different on the plains now. We actually can not only run the football, but we can throw the ball. And those guys, after the catch, can punish you. And so until they do that, they're going to make it tough for Damari, Alston, and Jeremiah Cobb to work. Allow them to get some easy yards because the defenses is so concerned about, and their eyes are elsewhere. They're not focused on the running back or the running game as much as they have in the past. And I think when you begin to do that, you'll begin to unlock something special in this offense that we've been waiting to see with the Hugh Freeze coached offense.
I agree. Look, you went out and you stacked the deck around the quarterback. You got the receivers you wanted. You've got the incumbent running back who should do pretty good. It's going to come down to, can they dial up the right plays at the right time? Special teams should not be an issue this year with Alex McPherson returning healthy. That really forced them into doing some things they wouldn't have done offensively at times last year. I just think that if it all comes together, it's got to come together quickly. And they've got to win. They've got to find a way to win game one. It would be a marquee win, beating the Baylor Bears in their own house to start the season. We'll be there to cover it either way. Caesar, I want to thank you for joining me this morning on the Auburn Express. Guys, if you're in the comments after our video, do us a favor. Smash that super thanks button. Show us some love. We were on the road all week last week for you. That's made possible in part by your financial support So we appreciate you guys when you do that. As always, hit like and subscribe. We are the War Report on every social media platform, TW Report on TikTok. Also, make sure to go check out our written work at thewarreport.com, bringing you guys lots of great, interesting articles and breakdowns on a lot of things that we talk about during the week. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with more Auburn Express. We're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.